Hello and welcome back to another Demis Hellen tutorial. We are talking percussion and we're going to build a percussive loop section. So we're just going to put all the hats and claps in basically. And I'm just going to show you how that works. So I've already got the kick and the clap from a sample pack. It's kind of what inspired the whole pace of the groove that you can hear. And I've just loaded up Groove Agent SE5 and loaded in some samples. So what we're going to do here is create a section here, and we'll open it up and we'll just start layering some of these sounds, and then we'll start balancing them out because I've done nothing on the mixer yet. So that one's a preferred. Sometimes I just load in samples and just see if they work or not, but straight off the bat I don't know if I'm liking that one, we'll see. So just load in the offbeat hats. I'm just going to lower my mixer volume to -6 on the other screen. -6.02, that'll do. So it's already got a nice groove to it. It needs tweaking, but it's starting to sound good. Okay, so I've got two closed hats here. I'm going to try this one. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to stagger the volumes. For some reason we can't edit that one. There we are. Okay, so we've kind of got this rolling feel rather than it just hitting hard, because we've already got a hat loop in that section. So you can see quiet to loud. So it's sounding good. And we've got a bit of swing on this groove, so what we need to do as well is add some swing to this channel here. So in Cubase it's just the quantizer, and I've got around 36 to 37 I think, and I'm just going to chop these down a little bit. Okay, so let's just have a quick listen with the kick. Okay, that's sounding pretty good in a vanilla sort of way. So I'll show you what I've done with the clap as well to kind of get that really restricted but really full-bodied clap. Right, let's have a look. So we're just going to build all the elements here. Just get rid of these hats. So I'm going to build them in sections so you can see what I'm doing here. So now we've got the starting point, the second point. Usually I'd do these on different tracks, but I'm just showing you in one screen, which makes things a little bit easier to see sometimes. So we've got a crash. We've got a breathy snare, which I've got a plan for. How can we place that? It's going to be at the end of a bar. Let's try it there. Let's just see if it works. Maybe on the beat is going to work a bit better there. Okay, so if you've watched some of my previous videos, you'll know what I do with this kind of breathy snare. It's kind of become a signature in a couple of tracks that I haven't released yet, so let's just bring the mixer onto screen. So you can see it's got its own channel here, so I'm just going to drop, let's just get rid of that. Just going to drop this down to -6. Let's just reset its peaks. And first things first, we're going to throw an EQ on it. So let's just find, there we are. So there's a lot of low end detail in there that we don't want. So about there is good for me. Now you can see that the levels are a little bit hot. So we will shove a gain plugin in before there, but also at the same time we are just going to reduce the output volume. We'll just reduce it about 3 decibels there. Okay, so then when we bring the mixer back up, let's have a look in here. Let's just reset that. So we've got about -5 there now, which is more usable. So we might not even... Okay, so we're not even going to need the gain plugin, so I'll just bypass that for now. And that's all I really wanted to do in that section. In fact, we could probably just give it a little bit of a... Okay, I'm just going to balance that volume out a tad. Right, that'll do. So we've got... So in this case, I'm going to put a dedicated reverb on here. So let's just try Oral River first, just because it's free and it's easier to follow this sort of tutorial then. So room size, we want something quite drastic. Turn off the low end, give the top end some more room. Oh. Okay, it's alright, but we're going to use a built-in one, I think, on... I forgot what it's called now. What Cubase's own built-in reverb is called. It's been a while since I've used it. It's not TrueVerb, it's RoomWorks, that's the one. We'll use the RoomWorks one. So what we're going to do is increase the reverb time. We're going to drop the pre-delay. We're going to increase the size. Going to dampen the lows. Okay. It's just got a nicer sound to it, this one. Got to stop it in that one. Okay, that's sounding somewhere where I want it, so let's have a listen. There we are. Okay, that will do for now. So we have the issue now of the hats. So we can see we're peaking at -6, which is where I want to be, but we are not quite there yet. So there's nothing happening in this lower region, so we're just going to chop this out. I'm going to put it on a -6 there. Just to preserve some of this detail. Okay, and then you can see we're heavy on the input, so I'm going to add some gain in there. We'll bypass this for a second. So we're getting about 1.4 there. So all I'm doing on the gain plugin here, so it's about -6 there, that's where I'm aiming for my level. I've reduced it by just less than 5, it's -6.3. Just give it a bit of a boost. So it's just giving me 6 decibels headroom on the sound. It's keeping it balanced. If you haven't seen my gain staging video, it's on screen now. So you can go and watch that to understand how to balance your tracks correctly. So let's go back to this. Let's turn this back on. And that's all we're going to do there at the moment. So now, okay, so we need a little bit more body in there. I'm going to put it back on a 12. There. So it's giving a little bit of mid-range, but you're not just creating it so it's like this really tinny, high-pitched mess. Okay, we're going to use a little bit of dynamic EQ here as well. So now we're getting a 5.4, I think I saw as a peak. That might have been from when we were adjusting. So we're at 6. I think we were at minus 6.3 or something before, weren't we? So it's not too bad. And we'll be anal about it. We'll just drop the volume. 0.17. We're at minus 6.1. 0.3 decibels. Okay, that's a nice balance there. So it's going in and coming out at the same sort of volume. It's peaking around minus 6.2, that's fine. Okay, so to give it a little bit more attack, I'm going to use a compressor. And I'm going to leave it, let's just turn English on so you can see. I'm going to leave it on the Sigma preset, which if you've seen my review of this on screen now, you can control the bite and you can add a little bit more transient detail using the Sigma preset on here. So we're going to leave it as a 3-to-1, but we're going to leave the release pretty fast and the attack is going to start at 40. I'm going to skip the lows there. And then we're just going to adjust this now. So I'm going to aim for a 1 dB. Yep. I think I'm going to swing more to the harder knee. I can just use the scoop to get rid of a few bits there. We're keeping it on the stereo preset here for now. So what are we getting as an output? So this, I'm just going to aim for a little bit more volume because this is the last plugin in my chain. So I'm going to boost it about there, which is about 1.5 decibels-ish. So now we're getting a 9.5 instead of minus 11. Right, it's giving it a nice upfront presence. I'm just going to reduce it a tad. About right there. So if we listen to this before this, you can hear how soft it is on the, if you listen to the hat transients, the start, it's quite soft and smooth is the word, and now we've added some bite using this compressor. Especially on them rolling hats. Okay, so it's all subtle things, compressors. Unless you are using it to drastically shape a sound, just be gentle with the compressor. It's going to do you wonders if you're very gentle with it. You can use it for sound design, and that's like a different section entirely. But for just kind of balancing your mix, just use things gently and then just crank them up to the point they are needed. Sometimes it's even easier to just crank it way past the mark and then bring it back down till it gets to a point where you hear it's okay. So just have a mess around with that, but be gentle with it. So now we have this. I love the breath sound, always gets me. So we'd only have this every second 8-bar loop because it's a little bit too much, along with this little synth riff here. So let's just move this acid sound over. And what we'll do is we'll have this one first. And then what's this one again? So we're just missing the breath sound, so we'll just add that one in for now. So that's how we'll build it in. Let's just shift these over and copy them over, and we'll just get rid of 2 kicks there. Okay, we'll get rid of that for now. Alright, so that's what we said. We didn't want the breath on every second, so we'll have it at the end of an 8-bar phrase. That sounds good. So that is percussion. Now, there's it's down to creativity, really, how to push it into the background and give it a little bit less intensity up front. There's all different ways. I do recommend, I can't remember what it's called now, one knob. And use, these are made by Waves. If you use, is it Wetter? I can't remember now. I think it's Wetter Stereo. Just load that up, it's on the wrong one. And it changes the appearance. So it's not Wetter. There is another one, and it's probably not one knob that I'm thinking of, but there's all different things that you can use to... So that's like a compressor type plugin. There's all different things. We probably could use wider maybe. This sort of gives you a weird effect, and I wouldn't really apply this, but let's just see what happens. If you wanted to widen up your section there, it's a good way to start pushing it towards the back. And another really good way to push it back a little bit as well is either use some reverb, some very gentle reverb, probably put it on a send, or you can just bring back the highs. So if we just set up a shelf. Just reduce it by about 2 decibels there. That sounds okay. So if we now bypass this, it's hard to tell unless you have headphones on. It just pushes it back a little bit. Removing the brightness on the top is something that you can do to kind of push things back in the mix. I have mentioned this before. It's a really good trick to use, and it works quite effectively. The other way that I mentioned is if you add a effects track here, and we'll use Tal Reverb because it's just a little bit easier to set up, and we'll call it Reverb Global. Alright, so let's just turn that up to wet. Let's turn that off. Stereo, room size, and that should be us good. I'll just drop that down to -6-ish. So if we now get this and the sends and route it through to Reverb Global, we shouldn't have turned the wet up, it works different on this. There we are. So just bring it in slowly. That'd probably work there. So it takes a little bit of the edge off there. So I'm just going to bring the mix down a little bit as well. Okay, sounding nice. And then let's just have a listen here. I think the clap could do with some reverb global as well. And I'll show you what is happening here. So on here we've got a gain reduction, so we've gone for the -5 decibels to get a decent input level into Pro C. And then all I've done is used a default as it loads, and I've loaded the threshold, just really catching the peaks, and then I've used the knee to soft to get that really kind of slow attack on the clap. As you can see, it's not a quick attack here, but it's quick, but it's not super quick. And then a slow release, so it's kind of going back up to unity before the next clap hits. But you can see I've applied this bit of harder threshold in here. So before the knee, which was here, you can see it's kind of reaching unity before it hits, and then the soft knee just softens everything down. It gives it a harder compression, but it makes it sound absolutely awesome when it's in the mix. So opposed to this, so it gives you that option to have a longer clap without it sounding just like really upfront and in your face in the mix. So that is how I would treat the basics of my percussion. You can hear the results here. They are a little bit upfront at the moment, and I'd probably just treat it further with a bit more gentle compression, just increase that threshold just slightly to kind of bring it down. But at the moment, as it sounds, the other sounds are not fully mixed in position yet. There's no bass group channel yet, which I want to put all 3 of my basses through, because I'm going to have a sub bass as well. So at the moment, we've got those ones, and I need to add a sub bass in to give it some low end, and it should work nicely then. So at the moment, it's just got the groove. So it's sounding pretty good. So if you found this tutorial useful and it's going to help you develop some of your percussive sounds, then let me know in the comments. Also drop a like if you think it deserves it. And finally, hit subscribe and the bell icon, and hit the all on the bell icon so you see all of my uploads, which are Monday, Wednesday and Friday. So it's now 3 per week. And the schedule is going to change a little bit, but I'll announce that later on. So thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.